You know, when I was young the world was very different. America was the dream. We all looked to the West for technology, for education, for opportunity. But today, something interesting is happening. Very interesting. India, a country once underestimated, often overlooked, has done something incredible. Something the world didn't expect. They didn't use war. They did use force. They used brains. Yes, brains, not bombs. And what happened? On the world stage, at the G, in the tech arena, in trade talks, even in space, India didn't just show up. India led. America, a country with powerful media, powerful money, suddenly found itself behind. Not because it became weak, but because India became smarter, faster, and more united. Let me tell you something I've learned. You don't need to humiliate anyone to win. You just need to focus, work harder, believe longer. India believed. They trained their young people. They built their digital infrastructure. They launched rockets to the moon at 1/10 the cost. And now, they are setting terms, not just taking them. That is power. That is humiliation, not by insult, but by excellence. It reminds me when Alibaba was small, people laughed at us. How can a Chinese company beat eBay, Amazon? But we didn't try to beat them. We built our own road. That's what India is doing now. Not copying the West. Not begging for approval. They are building their own version of the future. And that is why the world is watching. And maybe why some are nervous. So let me say this. To America, don't fear India. Learn from India. And to India, don't get arrogant. Stay hungry. The moment you feel you've won, that's when you lose. Because the world doesn't reward noise. It rewards value. And India, today, just proved it has plenty of that. When a country stops chasing headlines and starts building foundations, the world starts to pay attention. For a long time, the global narrative was simple. One side leads, the other follows. One makes the rules, the rest play by them. And for many decades, that worked. Certain countries had the technology, the influence, the money, and they dictated the pace of progress. Others just tried to keep up. But time has a way of flipping the script. India was never considered a threat. Not seriously. People saw it as colorful, chaotic, spiritual, full of promise, but not pressure. In boardrooms and newsrooms around the world, India was often reduced to a phrase, emerging market. Not quite there. Not quite ready. Just emerging. But what the world didn't see, or maybe did want to see, was that India was quietly building. Not with fanfare. Not with flashy announcements. With effort. Real effort. At the grassroots. In the background. Away from the global spotlight. While the world obsessed over politics, India built digital highways. While other economies invested in muscle, India invested in minds. Millions of young people were trained in coding, data, engineering, not just to work for others, but to build for themselves. A country once known for outsourcing became a hub of original tech innovation. Tech, space tech, it tech homegrown and fast moving. And now here we are. In the last few years, the world has started to notice something that many still find hard to admit. India isn't just participating in global progress, it's leading it in several sectors. And not with borrowed tools, with its own. Let's take just one example. Says, When India landed its Chandrayaan mission on the moon's south pole, something no nation had ever done, it wasn't just a technological triumph. It was an economic and philosophical statement. The cost of that mission was less than the budget of many Hollywood films. And it succeeded where others had failed. That's not luck. That's precision. That's discipline. That's innovation. You see, true power is not about how loud you are. It's about how accurate you are. When a nation starts solving problems faster, cheaper, and more creatively than the so-called superpowers, it no longer needs to shout. The world leans in on its own. That's what happened. That's what's happening now. In digital finance, India rolled out a nationwide API system that became a global case study. It didn't wait for the West to show the way. It led. Hundreds of millions of people moved from cash to digital payments, not in years, but in less than 5. It connected rural villages to global commerce. And suddenly, a farmer with a smartphone had access to the same system as a banker in Mumbai. That's not a trend, that's transformation. Diplomatically, too, India has taken a new posture. It doesn't react anymore. It responds. It doesn't just join global discussions. It hosts them. It chairs them. It shapes the outcomes. From the gut to BRICS to climate summits, India is no longer asking for a voice, it's using it. And here's the interesting part. All of this didn't require aggression. It did require humiliation. It came from clarity, consistency, and quiet execution. That's the kind of humiliation that hurts, not the kind that insults, but the kind that reminds others, you were sleeping while we were working. There's a global shift happening right now. The old centers of power are being challenged, not with weapons, but with results. Not with anger, but with achievement. And India has become a prime example of that shift. Of course, there will be denial. There will be debate. People will say, it's temporary, or it's an exception. But facts are hard to ignore. When your economy grows while others stall, when your engineers solve problems others haven't cracked, when your students become founders, and your scientists break barriers, you don't need to convince anyone. The world sees it. The lesson here is simple, and it's universal, whether you're a person, a business, or a country. Stop performing for applause. Start performing for progress. Real power doesn't come from titles or trophies. It comes when your results speak louder than your reputation. Today, India's results are speaking. And the world is finally listening. The world loves loud champions, until the quiet one climbs higher. For years, India was seen as the land of potential. Full of energy, full of people, full of possibilities. But in the global hierarchy, it was never treated as a true contender. There was always this unspoken belief that it was too slow, too complicated, too far behind to ever lead. But that's the mistake many made. Because real progress doesn't shout. It doesn't wave flags and demand attention every step of the way. Real progress, the kind that lasts, happens quietly, steadily, in silence. And that's what India was doing all these years. While the world's attention was fixed on trade wars, political drama, and economic bubbles, India was doing something much more difficult. It was transforming itself. Not just in one place. Not just in one industry. Across the board. Young people in India weren't waiting for Western companies to hire them anymore. They were building their own companies. Startups in India didn't just follow Silicon Valley. They created their own paths, solving problems that Silicon Valley didn't even understand. Villages got internet. Families got access to digital banking. Students learned coding before they were teenagers. Engineers weren't just supporting foreign teams, they were leading global products. And all the while, most of the world didn't pay attention, because India was making noise. But now the noise has arrived. Not from India, from everyone else. Because suddenly, that emerging country is making moon landings. It's exporting digital payment systems. It's leading international negotiations. It's building one of the fastest growing economies in the world, while others are struggling to stay afloat. This isn't an accident. This is luck. This is what happens when focus beats noise. When discipline beats drama. Look closely, and you'll see a pattern that repeats in history. The underestimated outwork the overconfident. Those who are ignored end up becoming impossible to ignore. This is not just about a space mission. It's not just about gift. It's not even just about pride. It's about a mindset. For too long, people in powerful places thought power was permanent. They assumed that the top would always belong to them. They confused legacy with entitlement. But the world doesn't work like that. It rewards those who adapt, who stay humble, who keep building even when no one is watching. India kept building. And now the results are too big to dismiss. When you land on the moon for less than the cost of a Hollywood blockbuster, the world watches. Not because they want to, but because they have to. When your digital infrastructure handles more transactions daily than most countries combined, people notice. When your entrepreneurs are creating billion-dollar solutions for billion-person problems without begging for funding from the West, that's a wake-up call. And here's the truth. The most powerful form of humiliation isn't the speech or protest. It's results. It's doing what others said you couldn't. Doing it better. Doing it cheaper. And doing it first. That's what's happening now. Of course, some people don't like it. They feel uncomfortable. How could a country that was once seen as poor, chaotic, and dependent now be setting the pace? Discomfort is good. It's how the world evolves. And for those who feel threatened, maybe it's time to reflect, not react. Because this isn't just India's story. This is a reminder to everyone. Don't ever underestimate the quiet climber. The one who listens more than he talks. The one who studies while others show off. The one who gets up early, works late, and doesn't post about it. One day, you'll look up and they'll be ahead of you. That's not magic. That's work. And India has been doing the work. The challenge now is not for India to prove anything to the world. It's for the world to catch up with the new reality. Power is shifting. Influence is evolving. And leadership no longer looks like it used to. It looks like innovation in unlikely places. It looks like resilience instead of riches. It looks like a country that was once underestimated, now becoming unstoppable. So to anyone watching the shift, don't resist it. Learn from it. And to those who are still trying to downplay it, you can't silence results. What happened on that global stage was just a victory for India. It was a reminder to everyone who's been overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed. Keep climbing. Because when the quiet one finally stands tall, even the loudest fall silent.